Hello, and welcome to Restoring Hope, the podcast of the Missionaries of the Precious Blood. We're honored today to have as our guest Dr. Amy McCormack, who is president of Calumet College in Whiting, Indiana. Welcome, Dr. McCormack. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Dr. McCormack, can you tell us a little bit about Calumet College of St. Joseph, how you came to be affiliated with it, and kind of the mission of the college for anyone who isn't familiar with it?
Okay, well, we're located in Hammond, Indiana. That's a common mistake because our address is actually Whiting, Indiana, but our physical location is Hammond, Indiana. Whiting is right on Lake Michigan. I can look out my window right now and see the skyline of Chicago. We're about 10 miles from Chicago, and the lakefront is right here. So we're in a beautiful location. Whiting, Indiana is right on the lake. And so we are in an area that actually is located in Hammond, but we have a Whiting P.O. box because we used to be the former administrative facility for Standard Oil Company, Amoco Oil Company, and now BP. So we are right next to the second largest refinery in the United States, BP, and the fourth largest in the world. So that's a little bit about our history.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the Calumet College of St. Joseph, its mission, its student demographic, kind of just an overall general rundown of the college?
Yeah, so it was founded in 1951, so we're getting ready to celebrate our 75th anniversary, so that's very exciting leading up to that. And we've just had a really interesting history. The reason I say Calumet College of St. Joseph, we have had several names. We were St. Joseph Calumet Campus, and then St. Joseph Calumet College. And there's a group of alumni that just say Cal College. So as a president, depending on who I'm talking to, but we are officially Calumet College of St. Joseph, often shortened to Calumet College. But currently, with all of our athletic programs, we're often referred to as CCSJ. You know how everything has gone to just letters now. So CCSJ, and we're the Crimson Wave, which is appropriate since we're right on Lake Michigan. We have about 700 students, and our traditional undergrad population is about 450. And then we have graduate programs. Now that's the traditional undergrad. We also have a few degree completion programs that are also undergraduate students that get us up to about 550, 600 students, and then the others are in our graduate programs, and there are four: teaching, management, psychology, and public administration are currently our four graduate programs. And we just got approval, so we don't have our first class, but we will have five graduate programs. We have exercise and sports science. That was just approved by our Higher Learning Commission. And we will either launch our first cohort this fall or in January. So we're currently recruiting for that graduate program. And we are in the internal approval process for our first doctorate in public
Oh,
service and administration. So we are a very small school, but we're comprehensive, and we don't have a plethora of undergraduate majors. So we have fewer undergraduate majors. We're a liberal arts institution, but we have a career focus. So all of our undergraduate majors, our biggest ones are business management, criminal justice, kinesiology, psychology, digital and media communications, of course, teacher education. So they are aligned with workforce demands and jobs within the area.
no, that's fascinating. I was not aware of all that. So, obviously, Calumet College of St. Joseph is a Catholic university, correct?
We are the only Catholic college in Northwest Indiana. We're the only faith-based institution in Lake County. So the other faith-based institution in Northwest Indiana is Valparaiso University. I like to say we're the only affordable and accessible faith-based institution because we have the lowest tuition rate of any private comprehensive four-year institution in the state and one of the lowest in the country. So Our tuition rate is, in the low 20,000s, and compared to other private institutions, we work really hard to make it affordable, and we also offer a number of scholarships, and some of those scholarships are also funded by the Missionaries of the Precious Blood.
Well, I did not know that. That is fascinating. So, since you mentioned Missionaries of the Precious Blood, can you tell me what role, if any, the missionaries play within the institution itself, or within the administration, and its spirituality and charism, um, is it in a backdrop there? Kind of explain, if you could, the role of the Missionaries of the Precious Blood within CCSJ.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. And I think of, if you know the Missionaries of the Precious Blood and know about their mission, I think it's reflected in a number of ways here. So I think of the first time that I did my presidential interview and was trying to find out a little bit more about our sponsoring order. And one of the things I remember, a line saying, they're ordinary people doing extraordinary work or extraordinary work. And I would say that is true at Calumet College. So we have Father Tim McFarland. He's our director of mission and ministry and a professor in our theology program. Brother Jim Ballman, he works in our IT and manages some of our IT software. And then Brother Ben Basil was here as a math faculty member. He's still around but doesn't teach anymore. And so we do have a presence, but I would say it's more the charism that you can feel every day, and a little bit about their mission work and serving students or people in the Chicagoland area, sometimes on the margins, and really helping to meet them where they are and lift them up or provide a better future. And so I think that that's what we do very well. We try to meet students where they are. We serve a number of first generation to college students, so needing that extra support around them, that family environment. Again, those ordinary people that are doing extraordinary work to help others. I think that you will find that at Calumet College. And probably the most common way that students describe us, and I was just with a group of students meeting with a donor, and every one of them talked about the welcoming environment, the family environment, how they feel very comfortable here. So I think that's the charism of the Precious Blood right here, and it's lived out every day. And the dignity of the entire person, those are things that I think we practice on a daily basis that comes from our sponsoring order. But if people don't know much about our sponsoring order, they may not realize what the direct tie is to their history.
Understand. And that's interesting that you say that the college community actually plays a role in nurturing hope among first generation or non-traditional students. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, can you describe maybe how the Missionaries of the Precious Blood commitment of reconciliation and justice shows up on campus?
Oh, yeah. I think I probably don't even know the extent of all the places that it shows up. But, um, in some ways we rely on the kind of commitment to reconciliation when we have issues that we need to resolve just internally. But I think it's also how we help students sometimes that are juggling a number of factors within their own life, and how we try to sit with them and work with them and sometimes help them resolve kind of personal issues within their own life so that they can focus on education. I think that's probably happening at a number of levels that I'm not even always part of. From an administrative standpoint, I think of, there's certainly been instances where we've had issues where, and I think of one last year where we actually, I pulled all the faculty together. We all sat in a circle, and I tried to model what I believe their ministry of reconciliation is when we had some issues around faculty compensation. And so, it's not where I'm sitting at the front of the room and talking, but really how do we gather in a circle and talk about these issues that are very important to people that I felt like were dividing among the faculty and also among an administration, but there was also division among the faculty. So that's probably the most visible example that I can think of that I tried to exercise what I feel like is something that is being done in other ministries.
So that and that's rare. I assume that's rare that someone at your level at a college is actually involved in on a grassroots level. I mean, it sounds to me that you're not only talking the talk, you're walking the walk. Is that correct?
I would say that, and again, I think of my interview. I had at least two of the Precious Blood Fathers on my search committee. And I remember during the interview process, referring back to the phrase that I had read, an ordinary person doing extraordinary work, that I feel like that's the type of life that I've tried to lead. And I remember saying, if you're looking for a president that tends to be up in their office and just manage from the top floor, I would not be the right person. I like to be among the people. The reason I'm attracted to this is because of that phrase. I think of myself as just an ordinary person. I hope in the time that I'm on earth and in my life that I can do some extraordinary work and that it has an impact on people, but it certainly will be an impact, I hope, that maybe I'll never see because it will be, well beyond, you never know how you impact people's lives, and it's not what you're looking for when you're doing good work is to, necessarily be acknowledged. I just hope at some point, I think of all the students that are getting their degree. It may take them 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years to find their place, but it's probably one of the most rewarding parts of my job. I was just meeting with alumni and to hear their stories. And I just had 2 alumni that I met with, and one in particular was just really had to pause and gather himself because of the emotions he felt when he talked about the role of the faculty in his life when he had a change in his circumstances that caused him to, have to find a college and get enrolled, and how all that came to be, and how Calumet College, I mean, he's gone on to get a doctorate and very successful career and business, but the emotion around how he got to Calumet College and the support he felt at a time when he was really in an area of unknown. And I like to say, well, the unknown is where all things are possible. But when you're in that area, it's hard to think, well, the possibilities can be negative, but they can also be very positive, and to embrace that with a sense of faith and hope.
So it sounds like the mission of Calumet College of St. Joseph is inspiring students even well beyond graduation. I mean, that's an impressive story. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and we talk about an ethic of service. So, of course, that doesn't just happen while they're in college. One of our initiatives that we've been working with, that we just received some funding for, is developing our first on-campus residential community. And it's a living, learning, serving house. And that was very important to me because of the ethic of service, not only in our mission, but also in our charism, precious blood charism. And so we want to expose students to service. As a matter of fact, this is the year of hope. So we are trying to gather 5,000 hours of service in this particular in 2025, and it's exposing students to the role of service in their life. And you get back a lot more than you give, but it also exposes them to different organizations that need volunteers, that rely on volunteers, often non-for-profits. If it wasn't for volunteers, they wouldn't be able to exist. And my hope is those students that then are exposed to some of these non-for-profit organizations, that they are it may be 10 years out, it may be 20 years out, and they'll remember, oh, I remember doing tutoring or reading at the Boys and Girls Club. That was an organization I loved. Maybe I'll get involved again. So that's my hope, that they'll be exposed to different organizations, and that their service has an impact currently, but it could have an impact into their future too.
So is it a requirement for students to perform a certain amount of service hours, or is it encouraged? I assume there are a great number of students who do it one way or the other.
Yeah, it's not required. And, I don't know that we uh, articulate that it's encouraged and put any pressure necessarily, but we have our sports teams, for example. It's a team activity. So sometimes their service is team building, and it's helping our local community either clean up garbage on the beach, or set up for festivals, take down, or pass out water for 5Ks in our community. So it could be things like that, where it's team building for our team, but it's also providing a service that is needed in our community. What we have just recently done is, and we're rolling out, we've been talking about it, we've done it sort of in a silent phase. It's called the A Plus Initiative. And that is pairing academics with athletics, the arts, and activities. And so the activities, many of our organizations, we have a service organization, we have other organizations that are doing activities. So whether it's the residence hall, or it's a student organization, or our Humanities Fest, students participate in storytelling. They publish their poetry or short stories in a literary magazine. They participate in gallery opening in downtown Whiting, where we have exhibit space. So those are things that they're doing for the community, and also showcasing their talent as well.
So it sounds like that spirit of volunteerism permeates the campus. It sounds like the students are pretty committed to and open to volunteering and serving the community.
Yeah. Now, the reason I want to just elaborate a bit on the requirement or strongly encouraged is because we have a lot of students that are also working, and they have family responsibilities, and some of those students are also athletes. So they've got, full-time student, they're trying to participate in a sport that has practices and games and these team building activities, and they may be playing an active role in their family, either with their siblings, or they may have families of their own. So I'm thinking of one of our football players that had two children, and he had come back to school a little after high school, and had finished his GED, came to college, and was playing on our football team. And he was participating in a number of activities, but again, he was trying to incorporate his kids when he could, but he's also a father, and so we have to kind of meet students where they are, because sometimes they have very full plates in trying to also hold and jobs. Some of them are trying to work evenings and nights to pay for their college. So we just have a student population. I call it a traditional student population, but it may not be how you think of a traditional student that's going to college and maybe doing a 10-hour a week job on campus. Those are not our typical student. We have some of those, but that's not our typical student.
Well, when you first, how long have you been president, Dr. McCormack?
I just finished 8 years, so I was
Wow.
at an
Oh,
event last
congratulations.
night, and someone said, "Well, I think you've doubled the uh, typical tenure of a college president." I don't think it's quite double, but maybe when I finish 9, that might be. But I think it's five something now.
Real
So
okay. Well, there. Well, when you became president, what was your vision for the college, and has that vision evolved?
well, I'd like to say it's come to fruition. So when I started 8 years ago, part of my vision was to provide a residential community on campus. So I started in 2017. By 2020, we had worked with the city of Hammond to get property that was adjacent to the college donated. And we also worked with a developer that was developing a brand new apartment building in downtown Whiting. And we were part of the initial phase of that and still have a master lease on 2 floors. So we have several units, 2 bedroom, 2 bath units in an apartment building that is a half a mile away that I can see out my window. And then we have a new 60-bed residence hall right on campus. So when I came, that was really important to the students. So when you interview, trying to pick up those voices and what's most important. So I think that was one of the reasons I was hired. My background is in finance and facilities and public accounting, and so that certainly I had my former institution had led the construction and completion of a large residence hall, done several master leases on other buildings, renovations of residence halls. So I had a lot of construction and facilities experience in my background. So I think that was attractive. So to be able to sit here and know that that was accomplished for the students is great. And then the other piece was that I was excited about when I came here and was told, don't get seduced by that idea because it'll probably never happen. We have 7 floors of our main administrative building. I'm on the 6th floor, but the 7th floor was dormant for 25 or 30 years. Had several roof leaks, and people told me it's past repair, and that we don't have an elevator that goes up there, so we could never use that. Through a significant $15 million grant that we got from the Lilly Endowment, the proposal, it was a competitive grant. We were able to secure 15 million, of which a piece of that is to create a heritage room celebrating the industries of Northwest Indiana that'll be used by our students, but also the community, and a real educational, both passive and active educational space, really celebrating Northwest Indiana and the industries that built Indiana, Chicago, talking a little about, all the ports and the rail transport and all that. So we're excited about that. And that'll be completed by the end of the year.
Yeah, and I've been up there. It's kind of frozen in time, and if I'm not mistaken, it used to be the, I guess, executive lounge for the Standard Oil executives. Is that correct?
Yeah, executives, or when they came in for their annual board meetings for Standard Oil, people would go up there because it has incredible views of the
Yeah.
refinery, and actually have to go around the corner to the outdoor terrace to see the views of the lake and the city of Chicago. And that space, again, I remember my first month here, taking my family up there and some friends and saying, my vision, but it wasn't just my vision. Other presidents had this vision as well. Like, how could we renovate what I saw as the, the prime real estate and space in our area to be able to, it's the only space where you have views of the lake and the lakefront and the city. And so to see that being completed, it's under construction now, so you'll have to come back and see the drywall. It
Yes.
will be going up starting next week, and we will open that before the end of 2025. So, and that's going to be a
Oh,
great community resource. But, we think about restoring hope, and one of the phrases that I used in this campaign is pride in place projects. And so we're
okay.
a small institution. We don't have a lot of resources. And so when I started, I would say we look like that too. And so one of my visions was to find those, um, you know, there are many things that we can do that aren't all that expensive to create pride in place projects. Now, this happens to be probably one of the most expensive pride in place projects, but I wanted my vision for this space was for people in the community, students, parents, alumni, to be able to really feel proud about where they went to college, often where they grew up. Many of our students come from a 10-mile radius. And to be able to be up in this space that now will be beautiful space to look out over the refinery and this amazing Links golf course right next to us and Lake Michigan, and know we're close to Chicago, but we have this really small town feel, and to, just have a sense of feeling grateful and proud of where they went to school and our community.
So, Dr. McCormack, I got two final questions for you. What gives you the greatest sense of fulfillment in your role?
I talk a lot about the stories, just hearing the stories. And, I try to think of those things that aren't necessarily tied to me, because the stories I hear from alumni or the impact the college has had on current students, it lets me know that we have a very strong foundation, that we've been doing amazing work. I think about the work we do with just education, and I grew up as a first generation low income student from a farm in Indiana. And so I feel like I can relate a lot to our students, and sometimes you don't realize where education will take you, but certainly you couldn't have charted my path. And so when I talk to students, I let them know that, I also represent a first generation single parent. I was raised by my father on a farm, and you have to, that kind of probably gets to the restoring hope. It's how you live a life of faith and hope and belief, I guess, that what you do every day pays off in some way, and you don't want to try to think that you can chart that path yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is insightful. So, what advice do you have for young leaders who want to bring hope or who are seeking to bring hope to their communities?
Probably my first piece of advice would be to be reflective about your own beliefs. So one of my words, I still have it here. If I can reach, uh, yeah, this. I mean, it's tattered, and you may not be able to see it, but believe. So I went to a leadership probably in my first 6 months here, and they asked us to come up with a word that um, kind of drives your leadership. And mine was believe. Now, I had come to an institution, I was a new president. Uh, Calumet College at the time was experiencing a declining enrollment. It was 2017. And so I think that's a really important starting place, is you have to believe. So if you're building institutional self-esteem, so that's something else that in my first year, so you said new leaders, so whether you're a new leader or probably old leader, you can reflect on this too. Um, Institutional self-esteem, so that gets into the pride in place, and for people to really recognize with a sense of gratitude the role that they play in the institution and the work that we do. And certainly as a non-for-profit and in higher education at Calumet College of St. Joseph, there are a lot of places that you could go and make more money, and sometimes work remotely, and those are all attractive options right now. But I think the significance of the work we do is really important. So to maybe assess your own beliefs, your own hopes, and really your faith in the future. So that's always, I think, what grounds me. And so then you lead with authenticity. So I think it would be hard to be a leader with in very difficult times, and we've been through very difficult times. If I didn't have hope, which I think is also faith for me, I'm not sure I would have made it through things like my first 3 years when things were very challenging, and you're trying to, you know, have faith that each day you're taking a small step forward. And then through the pandemic when we were closed, and all the challenges, and then last year with so many of our students received federal financial aid, and that whole system was down and we couldn't process it. And then there's just, I could go on and on. So I find myself kind of forgetting all of those. Sometimes I think I probably should jot them down, but I don't know that there's a lot of value in remembering all the negative, but instead recognizing the positive, that with a sense of hope, with belief in the future, with strong faith, and with a real sincere belief that you don't walk this path alone, which is
Absolutely,
relying on your
absolutely.
faith. Yep.
Dr. McCormack, if oh, I'm sorry, Dr. McCormack, if any of our listeners are interested in finding out more about Calumet College of St. Joseph, or exploring, getting involved with the institution or applying to the institution, how can they do so? Social media? Do you have social media handles or websites,
Yeah,
or
we
what's the
do.
best way to get?
So CCSJ Crimson Wave or Calumet College of St. Joseph, social media, ccsj.edu if you want to just search our website. We have a number of our degree completion and graduate programs are online, so they can reach far and wide. So if you're interested in any of those graduate programs, and if you happen to be listening and are an alum of Calumet College or St. Joe, so that's why I wanted to mention St. Joe, because we are, uh, a product of St. Joe College in Rensselaer, Indiana. So we were their first satellite campus. Then we went independent in 1971. But if you are a graduate of St. Joe College and want to learn more about Calumet College of St. Joseph, we certainly want to carry on that tradition. And we've done so most recently in starting the Midwest Sprint Football League and a new football team. And that's about opportunity too, for those that love football, that are lighter weight. It's also called lightweight football and on the East Coast. So it's about opportunity, and that's also part of our mission. So that was one of the reasons that we started the Midwest Sprint Football League, to give students opportunity that they may not otherwise have. And that's certainly education, we believe, making it affordable and accessible, is providing opportunity for students to, achieve their dreams, hopefully.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. McCormack, thank you for joining us. If anyone is interested in learning more about Missionaries of the Precious Blood, we are at preciousbloodus.org, and you can also find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Again, our guest today is Dr. Amy McCormack, president of Calumet College of St. Joseph in Hammond, Indiana. Dr. McCormack, thank you so much for joining us. We've been inspired by your words and continue to be inspired by the college itself. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.